Hi everyone, let's talk about Charterstone. So I have played through the whole campaign, the whole 12 games. That's kind of part of the reason why this video is delayed more than perhaps it would have been otherwise. But yeah, we've played through the whole thing now as two players, and we had two Ultima players, which I didn't cover in the playthrough, but they've got a very nice system of simulating players that will bump you out or will unlock things or build things themselves. There's some very simple cards to do in there, and there's a separate little rulebook that you can take a look at that will describe it. Or Rado's run through, I think, includes the Ultimas as well, so you can take a look at that. But yeah, we played the whole thing to the end of the campaign. Unlocked a lot of the stuff, not everything in it, but we unlocked a lot of the stuff, kind of thanks to the Ultimas. And well, rather than having some great big mitigation and then turn around in the middle, I will rip the plaster off to begin with and say that we didn't enjoy Charterstone very much at all. And it's I hate that that is the way that we felt about it, because yeah, this was like my second most anticipated game of last year, and I've really enjoyed loads of Stonemaier games, and Jamie Stegmaier, the designer of the game, included me in a charity auction for Charterstone, where my name was included on something. I didn't actually have to do anything, but aside from that, that's just reasons why I feel bad about this. But yeah, just being honest about it. The main takeaways that we had in the end. So yeah, to begin with, we were really excited to start the thing. We were really into Legacy, although we have very limited experience of it. Legacy is a new thing to begin with, and we haven't played the others that have come out. We've basically played Pandemic. Gloomhaven's got some Legacy things in it, but it's not entirely a Legacy game. It was mainly Pandemic that we've played. But yeah, this is the first competitive one we've played as well. And yeah, we had the excitement to begin with. As I say, the Ultimas, they do work very well, but we found it quite frustrating, especially earlier on when there were fewer cards in the advancement deck. I'm trying to be vague. I'm trying to be coy, like a carp, and not spoil things for you. But you realise the advancement deck gets bigger during the campaign. It doesn't stay at 5 cards the whole way. The Ultimas, especially earlier on in the campaign, unlocked so many things, and that's kind of the point of them, to kind of you wouldn't unlock very much as two players from all of the colours that aren't involved in the game. This is a 6-player game, so there's a lot of stuff that you're missing out on if they didn't do that. But there was kind of a thing for us of, yeah, it's maybe the rate at which they did it. Maybe it's down to the way advancement cards came out in our display, or the way Ultima cards came out, but they unlocked so much stuff, and it wasn't really... It was a bit annoying that they were so good at the game and got so many points and things, but that wasn't really the main issue. It's kind of the missing out, and we found that between each other as well. Not that anybody ended up with something crazy overpowered and other people got things that weren't as good. That wasn't the case at all. It was just kind of, that seems nice. Oh, what am I going to get a chance to do that at some point? Oh, I went this different way. Like, am I ever going to get to do that? And that's kind of made me think about it. It's too early to say about competitive Legacy. This is the only one we've played. But it did kind of start me thinking about maybe competitive Legacy in general isn't going to be right for us, because that's surely going to be a part of competitive Legacy games, that you have to have different things. In Pandemic, for example, when we unlock something, we're all excited because it's something everybody gets to use. And when somebody unlocks a building and things in this, everybody's going to get to use it once it gets built, and all of that stuff. But in say in Pandemic Legacy, we were all unlocking something that's a tool we all now get to use towards our goals. Whereas unlocking things at different stages in this can be, interesting, that, oh, look at this thing that I've got. But in general, not related to this is going to help me win the game more or anything like that. It did feel, kind of, one of us generally felt left out, that, oh, we didn't go this particular way, and so maybe we should have played in this way. It's always frustrating trying to explain Legacy games where I can't really say things. But yeah, there are a lot of things that we would have done very differently had we known things that would happen later. So that was one issue of it. Another thing that so yeah, we played the whole campaign. And as I said in the playthrough, the game starts very, very basic, and that's intentional. And that does speak to a really positive point of the game, that as an introduction to maybe board games in general, but certainly worker placement games, this takes you on, the most basic worker placement thing. There's not very many spaces. All the things we've built just get us one of a resource, and you have your crate, you have 4 money, go get started, and see where it goes from there. I think this will be a fantastic introduction, and not to say that it ends up as a really easy game later on. It definitely gets more interesting and gets a lot more added to it. But I'll say that despite those things getting added to it, the excitement of playing faded quite quickly. Certainly by the middle of the campaign, it had gotten to the point where we hadn't unlocked everything yet. There were still things added after that, but maybe a lot of the stuff had been added earlier on, perhaps, just to the luck of the draw of, Autumn unlocking things, and the way we unlock things just happened to be certain crates that unlocked elements of the game earlier on. Constantly, every word that I say has got this don't spoil the game in front of it, so it's hard to speak. But yeah, the game itself does get more interesting, but it never got to a point where we were like, this is really engaging us and really exciting us. I think that is one of the core problems we had with the game, that the game itself that we were playing, it just didn't get very interesting. Part of that as well could be down to the way that we built our charters, because without, I think as clear as I can be, is that knowing what we know now, it would be completely different, and we could go back and play with the recharge pack and all of that stuff. Back to positive, because there are a lot of positives. It's definitely a game where, despite it not being for us, I can absolutely see the good things about it. It's an absolutely beautiful game. It's light on the story, which I know has been a problem for some people, but I knew that going in, and the focus of the game is supposed to be the game that you are building rather than a story that you are crafting. There is a story to it, but one thing that we didn't like, me probably more than Rachel has a problem with this in games, that there are times, again, without being able to, with being as vague as possible about it, there are times when the game kind of, turns around and completely changes what it was going to be. And it didn't happen that often, but there were some revelations during the game that affected the game we had just played, and they had a big impact on the game that had finished, and only having that information at the end of the game was really, really annoying, especially for me, I think. One thing for Rachel, and I've heard a couple of other campaigns like this as well. It was kind of clear to Rachel halfway through the campaign that I had a lot more points than her in the campaign, because you are playing a campaign that's got points in it, and it says on your chest where you're getting the points from. It was starting to look like there was a gap emerging. As the campaign went further, the gap just got further and further, to the point where the last few games especially, she knew for sure that I'm going to win this campaign. No matter what happens in these last few games now, I'm so far ahead that I'm going to win this campaign. And so, that is a thing that I've heard of in Risk Legacy, or was it Seafall as well, that, you can have a runaway leader problem. That could be just specific to us. That's the experience that we had. Now, there are things in the game that help people that lose the game with, being vague again. I did say what it was, but I had to cut that out. But there are some kind of mitigating things to try and improve the experience for you if you have lost the game, that I can absolutely see did help sometimes, but they didn't solve that disparity between the players. And maybe that's because it was 2 players as well. There would be more elements going on in a game with more players, but definitely for our experience, it was very, very one-sided. And that could have been as well down to the focus of the game. just knowing the basic thing, I don't think I'm spoiling very much here with just, the basic board and things that will be in the game. You are building things. You are putting stickers on the board and building things. And then you are given crates, which you can then unlock, which get you more things and unlock various elements of the game. Rachel was definitely going for that course and, building things, getting new things, building more things, and getting a really nice system going. I was playing it more like, I would play a normal board game and kind of, surveying the situation, what objectives are out, what advancement cards are out, what can I do to get the most points. And strangely, once we were kind of setting our ways through the campaign, I wished that I had, gone for buildings more and unlocking things more. I felt that I was really missing out on there. And Rachel, by, being really behind on the campaign in general, really wished that she had gone for, the maximizing the points. It was strange how we had this, as I said at the beginning, where whenever we unlocked things, there was often there was kind of, a twinge of, I haven't got anything like that. Similarly, in the way that we played through the game, we both played it very differently, but both wished that we'd played it the way that the other one did. Both felt that we'd missed out on an experience by playing it in that way. I hope I'm being clear in all of this. It's really confusing trying to be this vague about it. But yeah, all that said, I know this has kind of been just moaning about the game for ages, hasn't it? It's very beautiful. It's a great introduction to worker placement games, and if you don't mind some random elements or sillier elements, then I can totally see them enhancing the game for a lot of people. But I don't really like randomness in games. Not that there's a ton in it. There are definitely some things that I really just want to talk about. Some things that really stick out that really irked me about the game. But the core fundamental thing that it comes down to is, despite all the good things about it, and I am really pleased that so many people enjoy it, and very sad that I am kind of this lone voice that's grousing about it. But the game that started out very basic got more stuff added to it, but never got to a point where we were very interested in it, and to the point where the plan was to, I would say, if we hadn't pre-ordered this and paid a lot for it at Essen, and then it won my vote. I have a vote every month for my Kickstarter backers to choose games that I do videos for. This won the vote. If all of those things hadn't happened, I don't think we would have played to the end of the campaign. It was our opinions kind of 2/3 of the way through, maybe a little bit before that. They didn't change towards the end of it. Those last few games didn't add to it, and the plan was, play all of the 12 games, play the game a few times, because the other big plus point of this game for people that are maybe put off a bit by legacy, this is playable when you finish the campaign. There are, the game then tells you this is what happens now. And you can buy an upgrade pack, which lets you use the other side of the double-sided board and start playing again. It gives you, it gives you a complete way to reset the game, so that it's got all of that going for it. I forgot my point for a second, but the plan was to play through the campaign and then play afterwards a few times, so I could talk about that as well. But really, though, I would have had to play those solo, because Rachel only kind of stuck around just to see what happened, since I was going to have to play to the end of the campaign anyway. She just kind of stuck around. But that's kind of the sad truth of it. I don't think we would have played to the end if those things hadn't been true. If it hadn't been an excitement pre-order, and then we had the thing over of, we bought all of this and the upgrade pack and paid a lot for it. Not that I'm complaining, it was my choice to do that. And then it's won the vote. We need to play to the end of it. If it hadn't been for those things, I don't think we would have gotten to the end of it. But I don't want to sound like it was a miserable experience. But it's got that extra thing, hasn't it? Since from the beginning of last year, maybe before then, from whenever it was announced, I was in with both feet. As soon as Stonemaier game is announced, I want it. Stonemaier Legacy game, all of these things, and I've been going on and on and on about it and getting more and more excited about it. Maybe that's another factor in it. Whereas the disappointment's maybe a bit more pronounced that it wasn't the game for me because I had been so excited and constantly going on about it. But yeah, I hope I've said good things about it because I want to mitigate all of this by saying that I can completely understand why people are really enjoying it, and it makes me very sad that I didn't. But as always, being very, very honest, I didn't, and Rachel didn't either for the things that I said, and there are more things that are. That was a terrible time for the camera battery to run out. Anyway, I think I was just repeating myself. Yeah, congratulations if you love Charterstone. I can definitely see why. I'm very sad that I didn't. Thanks for watching, everyone, and I'll see you for the next game. Bye, everyone.